Yeah, all right. Well, thank you for sticking around. So I just wanted to share with you what happened in Denver, because it was really quite a inspiring week and very fruitful. It was like drinking water from a fire hose, frankly. There was so much information presented. It spoke to how churches, church attendance has been in decline for some time. And with that decline, there's also been a competition for nonprofit dollars. So this is what they were talking about. That we're not competing with other churches, we're competing with other nonprofits for that giving dollar, whatever that is. And so they were strategies as to how to go about doing that, but also recognizing that in what we do, we have a unique capacity because we are faith communities. So it spoke to how we want to shift the way that we think about giving in our communities, the way that we speak to needs, financial needs of the community, and so forth. So one of the things that they spoke to, which was right in alignment with religious science ideas, was the idea of speaking to vision rather than finances. And the way that that presents itself is in many ways. And I caught myself with some practices that we're going to shift here, because there's a difference between practicing stewardship and practicing financial controls. Now, I'm one of those guys who gets down and dirty with the financial controls. It's always been very important to me to make sure that our spending is in line with what we take in. And in fact, I have really worked diligently through my tenure to maintain this idea. Now, my takeaway from this was that the biggest constraint to growth for our center has been my thinking in this way. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not good financial stewardship, but it's not good vision casting. And there is a subtle difference. And so they suggested some simple practices. For instance, the way that our current board meetings run is that, well, number one, how many people here know what the mission of our center is? A handful, right? And yet it's right on the program, right? It's to celebrate the divinity in all is what our mission is. And so how that needs to be on everything that we do, so that everyone in our community, including new friends who are first-time visitors, know that this is our mission, until maybe we want to do a revisioning. But until then, it's to celebrate the divinity in all. That's the reason why we do the candles and the whole bit. This is our mission. So everything around the budget then, and what we do here, is to support that mission. Now, how do we support that mission in this center? Because that really kind of opens it up, yeah? How do we celebrate the divinity in all? Doesn't mean just the people in the room in Sunday or in class, but out there too. How do we do that? Well, this calls for a much larger vision. So anyway, that's the first thing. We do an opening treatment. We set the coaching arena. We do correspondence, and then we move right into secretary's report, right? And then we haven't nodded off yet. Then we go into the finance report, right? And so, and then we go to old business and new business. They're saying, no, don't do that. Rather, go to new business, old business, and do the financials at the end. Now think about that for a minute. So now we're talking about the vision of the church without being impeded in any way about what's it going to cost. Now think about that. So now all of a sudden the conversation's different. All right, so we as your board, and by extension you as a community then, are fired up by this idea. Yeah, let's get behind this. And then things are funded then differently. Not from a need, but rather from a vision. It's very subtle, but man, it was like a lightning bolt for me. So that's one of the simple practices. That costs us nothing. That costs us nothing. The other thing is impact. And I want you to think about, and there's just a handful of us here, but many of us have been members of the community a long time. Think about the way the center impacts your life. Okay? And because right now what we have on board, we have some new members on the board who are very excited about promoting and maintaining membership. So this idea that, you pledge and you do a conscious giving and all that in order to be a member, that's out. That's out. And instead, my job as your spiritual director, through the practitioner corps and the board of trustees, is to celebrate and to encourage a consciousness of generosity, right? To recognize and know that God is generosity by means of me and by means of each one, right? And that we are all working to expand that consciousness of generosity in whatever way that we can. Now, this has happened already in some clever ways, and some people have helped to, if you see extra musicians up here with Ken, it's because people have given extra money to the music fund. Right? So it's already this thing's already kind of happening in an organic way. But now imagine, so we're getting ready right now to secure a new loan for the church. Now, how many got that letter in the mail? Did you get one, Greg? Because I don't think you're on our mailing list. Okay. So we're going to send it out through Constant Contact because for many people in our community now, we have email addresses, but not snail mail. But we sent out 150 pieces, right? And the idea is to raise the money in this month, hopefully, but at least through, say, the middle of May, to raise the money that we would have raised anyway through a spring fling event, which was this annual event that you were here last year, right? It was an annual event. It's a big party and all that. So we need to. Our finances are okay. They're not stellar because we had, for whatever reason, I can't tell you, I tithe, right? It starts with me. If I'm not giving, I totally get in consciousness, that's a restriction. So for whatever reason, that didn't happen in the first quarter the way it has in years past. We're about 7K short. So anyway, this idea of beefing up our balance sheets because we have to support our current financials with our loan package. We look great, by the way. All right? They want, based on our last 3 years, they want to give us this loan at 4.8% fixed. We're getting rid of the $180,000, maybe more, balloon payment that's due in 6 years. And as we know, 6 years goes like that. And so what that means is that, we're going to have the bragging rights of setting things right around here going into the future. And then we can pay down, right? So part of those people who paid for leaves, right? Your effort has not been in vain, right? That money went to pay down the balance on the mortgage. Your effort was not been in vain because you created some space for us to be able to do this. And then, so once we get the loan secured, we'll take a breath, and then we will start working on paying down this mortgage at a mortgage rate that is almost 3 points less than what we're paying now. It's also adjustable. So if interest rates if we don't do anything, it's only going to go up. So it's a smart move. It's an intelligent move. If you have an opportunity to speak with other members, particularly those who may be afeared, right? We're not doing this from a place of fear at all, but rather opportunity. And so there are ways that we can pay that down also. So these are all strategies that won't be. So I'll give you an example. So we decided a few years back that we wanted to pay down. Do you need to get up here and get your guitars and go? Okay. So a few years back, we had this effort to pay down the mortgage, right? So we had a co-creation thing. People got really excited, and we thought 200 people, 1,000 apiece over 3 years will pay it off. Well, we don't have 200 active members. We didn't then, but we do have. So what I realize is we're talking about planned giving. So for instance, if you haven't made an allowance within your will to tithe the remainder of your estate after you get everybody else squared away, 10%, or I would hope that we get the first 10 and then everybody else can have the 90. But so that's called planned giving. Our offering plate's called annual giving. The third pocket is called capital giving. We've never done that here, but they've done it a lot in mainline churches. And we're not going to do that right away. We're not going to do that right away. But I'll show you how it would have looked differently. So when we had that meeting, if we'd have said, look, we don't have 200, but we have 50 of us. So how can we break up that 230 we owe into manageable chunks? Which worked out to about a little under $1,800. And if those 50 who had enough capacity, right? So that was the word I was using today, capacity, for that extra $600 a year, which is $50 a month, on top of regular giving, we would have paid that thing off. We would have paid it off by now. Instead, we kind of had this little passive. It's not that it wasn't relevant. It was just very passive. A capital campaign is a much different thing, right? It's very structured. People come and visit you and ask for your commitment and so forth. We're not there yet. I'm just letting you know that was one of the things that we discussed. But just imagine this. So imagine we in this community right now. So we're not even marketing the online thing yet. Okay, I think that we can grow our community easily by 200 or 300 online people and have a button. We've been talking about having a donate button. No, I think we should have a membership button, right? A membership button that we then can connect with people on the online community with, and telling them more about what we're doing here. Invite them then to come in and join us on Sunday when they can. Because the idea is to reach people in the valley here. Now, that doesn't mean that my relatives in Ireland and Germany and your relatives back east or whatever won't be tuning in once in a while. But they will. Maybe I think Fred may have been on again today. So those of you remember Fred. So there's this potential to grow our community with a much larger vision. So imagine we're no longer paying $1,800 a month for debt maintenance on the mortgage, and that money's available, right? So what can we do with that? And I would encourage each one of you to consider that. So I was thinking one of the things we could do is, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we could have a paid staff person who worked with art stuff for teens so they'd have a place to hang out. So we'd have like a quasi youth center on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the 100 Granada Hills students who are walking by, or from Patrick Hale, right? That's one little thing. Not Hale. What is it? Patrick Henry. Nathan Hale, Patrick Henry. I'm getting my Patriots mixed up. Tom Brady. Oh, no, that's another one. Okay, so let's see what else happened. What am I forgetting, Reverend Jessica? And I also want to acknowledge Reverend Jessica went out on her own dime, and it was really great to have her there and to bounce ideas off with. And she was working, her little covey of folks and my little covey of folks that I check in with. And I got to tell you, we really are doing really great work here. Yeah. I don't know how to convey how much respect we have in the greater community, but also just acknowledging, wow, we don't have those problems, right? We have good people. We have a good solid membership of generous people who we just have to stretch a little bit and recognize our capacity, right? And not with, recognize our own individual capacity and how to really maximize that so that we have a greater impact. So that's the other thing that we want to work in. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it, but we do want to have video testimonies where people, just give us 3 minutes on camera to talk about what the center means to them. And hopefully it's changed your life, and that's why you come back. Whatever it is for you, right? And young people, all the way up to the other spectrum to not as young people, right? And everything in between. So, what else? That's kind of...
By getting rid of the debt, we can make more of a difference.
Yeah, so, but not to just make getting rid of debt. I mean, that's not really a mission, right? That's a task, right? Getting rid of debt is not a vision. Oh, that was the other thing. So you know how we like to do this spring fling, right? So these, we've put so much emphasis on this for fundraising. And what these guys are saying, now they're helping people raise millions, right? So the guy who's putting this on has had an outfit called Horizons. They're a Methodist outfit. And Cliff Christopher said, I have secured for these various churches who hire us over the last 20 years, 47 donors of $1 million apiece, right? So out in these mainline churches, they're raising serious money. Imagine, for instance, if we had some kind of a capital campaign, our debt is paid off, and we decide to buy this little parcel back here where that little rundown house is. Nice big lot with that little garage, right? And that could be reworked into a youth place, right? We just have to start thinking about things in a different way, right? But think about impact. How has this center impacted me? See you guys. Bye. So how can we, how have we been impacted? How can we impact the community, not just within here, but out there? I'll tell you the other thing that I was heartened by when I started adding it all up. We do a lot here. We do a lot here. It's a big deal that we go to North Valley, that we help out with the cancer relay, that we, I made this list of all of these things that we do, and someone said, wow, you guys do all that? Bereavement support, healing support, all of these various, the animal ministry, the spiritual dynamos that are just there on sabbatical right now, but they'll be but they will be resurrected in some form. All of these little ministries are reaching people, and they're creating impact. So that's all I can think of right now. I appreciate you sticking around to find out what happened out there. You can see why you didn't want to take time on Sunday to do that. And again, so we're trying to raise $10,000 to get on the balance sheet. It's going to be banked. It's not going to be spent, so that when we submit our loan package, these guys go, wow, these guys, for a small community, they're pretty healthy. So outside of that, are there any questions? And yes, it was cold in Denver, which was actually kind of refreshing. I actually walked in snow, and then I took pictures of my footprints. Just to say that. Yes?
I know I came in late. Did they talk at all about bequest?
Yes. So bequest is planned giving. And so, yes, they did talk about that. And so that is one of the strategies that we will be engaging in the next year or so to, tastefully and respectfully go for that, ask for that gift for our center. And as, Susan Freeman got up, Susan is not in her 70s, I'll just say that. all right? So we tend to think of these things as something that I'll do at the end of my life, but she's, in midlife, and thought to list us as a beneficiary in her will already, which is great, all right? So I may not be around when that happens, but it makes me feel good knowing that our center has its future secured in some way. So if you haven't got around to doing that and you've been thinking about it, then I would encourage you to do that. The other thing I wanted to point out was this fella, Dr. Tatsuo Hirano. He's putting this, he's really excited about promoting our center. We had an opportunity to visit for about an hour on Friday because he just happened to catch me in here. And he's got like over 3,000, I think 3,300 Facebook friends, and he's kind of a big deal. And so he has offered to do this presentation for our community in support of it. So he's not really looking to gain anything from it himself. Although I have to say, once you see what he does, how simple it is to engage it in your own life, you may go see him for treatment, healing stuff. But and he's kind of a cool guy. He's fun. So yes, Mike.
What's the time frame that the center needs these funds in place?
Okay, yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, a good question. So ideally, it would be the end of the month. But, as soon as you can make it happen, which the end of the month is almost here, of course. But, we were requesting was $100, although some of us have the capacity to give more and have given more. And so the board itself, your board of trustees itself raised $600 just on the board. So we got a nice start. So the board has stepped up, and I know there's more to follow. Yes?
I was thinking of a strategy. Sometimes people give toward the end of the year.
Yes.
For tax purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you could encourage them to give now.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's still going to count, whatever.
That's right. So what Reverend Elizabeth was saying is for those donors who give at the end of the year as part of their tax strategy, that they could sprinkle that through the regular year, presuming they have that capacity, right? Maybe it's an annuity that doesn't disperse, or is that the word? Until, what's that? Distribute until the end of the year. But yeah, if if you have it, it's always nice to sprinkle it so we can use it through the year.
How much do we need to get this loan done?
Well, the target number is 10 grand. So the way the Spring Fling has worked in the past, we've grossed about 14, sometimes as much as 17. And then we have expenses against that. So we actually thought about having a ticket, right? Because so many people work so hard to put this thing on. We're kicking around ideas of having it. You could buy a ticket. Let's raise money for the church and forget all the work and just sell an event ticket like that. But we just decided to me, I just wanted to reach out. We don't do mailers like this very often, and just kind of have a more informed. To me, it's a smart move, an intelligent move. I know the capacity is out there. We just have to make it happen. So, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much. That was a little longer than 10 minutes, but there we go. Thank you.